Welcome back to the Anything Flies podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the biggest what-ifs in sports history. There's lots of these moments, but we picked probably what our top three would be. So we're just going to go ahead and get right into it.
All right, to start it off, we got what if Kawhi didn't hit his shot in the Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals against the 76ers? The Raptors would certainly not go on to win the finals against the Warriors. Most likely the Warriors would get an 8th championship. Curry would have 5, and they would three-peat as well. And then along with that, some devastating injuries, like KD wouldn't have gotten injured. He tore his Achilles, and Klay Thompson would also probably not gotten injured. I believe he tore his ACL. So it'd be a very different chance. That was also a year that nobody really cared because the Raptors won, and nobody really cares about the Raptors except for Drake. And so, I mean, it was practically it looked like it was going to be a free win for the Warriors, and they just couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, I guess I'll just get into mine. My biggest what if is, what if James Harden never got traded to the Rockets? The last year Harden was on the Thunder. They reached the NBA Finals, but they ended up losing to the Heat 4-1. The Thunder had to decide that offseason between Pascal Siakam and James Harden. Those were the two guys that they were big pieces, but they had to get rid of one of them because they had to stay under the cap limit, and they decided that offseason to trade James Harden, obviously, to the Rockets, and they got an exchange of a few pretty much no-name guys, and then they got 2 first-round picks. So they stayed with Pascal Siakam. They also had Russell Westbrook, and they also had Kevin Durant. And that next year, they really didn't see a drop in success. They had a better record. They had a 60-22 record, but they didn't reach the finals. They lost in the Western Conference Finals. The year after that, they went 59-23, also lost in the Western Conference Finals again. And then after this year, pretty much the Thunder's big three collapsed. I think after that year, Durant decided to sign with the Golden State Warriors because he hit free agency, and then he left Russell Westbrook in the dust. And then I believe Pascal Siakam also went to either Toronto or the Pacers. So it was pretty much just Westbrook at Oklahoma. So obviously we know what happened. Golden State went on to have a dynasty pretty much. What was it, a three-peat? And then also won in 2021, I believe. So I think if Harden stays, obviously Kevin Durant probably would have stayed too. So the big three would have still been there. And if they trade Siakam's not that big of a deal, honestly. I think if the big three stayed, they could have had the next dynasty after the Bulls and taken the success from Golden State. And so I really don't think Golden State and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson would be who they are if it wasn't for this trade. So that's my biggest what if.
I think my biggest what if would be if the Seahawks ran the ball on the 2-yard line in the Super Bowl against Patriots. Obviously, they threw the ball and it was intercepted by Malcolm Butler, and that kind of sealed the deal. But they were down 24-28 with like a minute left, with Marshawn Lynch, literally nicknamed Beast Mode, in the backfield, and they decided to throw a slant route, and it was intercepted, and they ended up losing to the Patriots. And that was their 4th Super Bowl, so it took them about 10 years to get back to that one. But if the Seahawks would have ran that ball, Tom Brady would have had 30 seconds left. And, I mean, it's Tom Brady, but that's hard to do. So I don't think he would have won that one, and they would have been continuing on their dry spell. And then also, I believe that would have been Russell Wilson. If they won that, he would have had 3, and that would change the way that people look at him as well. And also Pete Carroll as well, because he's a very good coach, but he's kind of known infamously for choking that one play call. So I think if he didn't choke that, he would have been high up there in the coaches.
Can we talk about, that's also a good what if, but so was this Super Bowl before the Falcons Super Bowl?
Yes.
So what? Tom Brady would only have,
he would have had 3 at that moment.
After this one? Or before this?
This was his 4th.
Okay. So let's say he doesn't win this one, and let's say another big what if is the 28-3 blown lead. That's another big what if to throw that in here. So if those two what ifs happen, Tom Brady's at 3 instead of 5, and then he won one more with the Bucks. So he would have.
He has 7 because he won against the Rams after that.
That's true. Okay, so he would have had
4 with the Patriots, 5 including Bucks.
Okay, so he would have had 5 instead of 7, right? You think he's still the GOAT?
Yeah,
you do.
And I think part of what makes him the GOAT is that he came back 28-3 with the greatest comeback in history.
Well, that's the thing. Like, he doesn't have the 28-3 comeback to be on his resume. So instead, he's a 5 Super Bowl guy with getting pretty much blown out by the Falcons and losing to Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. So Russell would have 3, and I mean, I guess he still would be the GOAT, but I don't think it'd be as big of a yes, he's the GOAT. Instead, it'd be, is he really the GOAT? It's more like the basketball GOAT debate rather than the football GOAT debate where it's automatically Tom Brady.
Well, he'd still be the GOAT, but he wouldn't be the GOAT of all sports. Like, it'd still be Jordan. By the way, next week's pod's going to have the GOAT debate of LeBron and MJ. So get ready for that one. That's going to be heated because between the 6 of us, I think it's split 3-3. And we're gonna bring a special guest on, so it'll be an interesting pod.
I'm pretty sure if he didn't win those 2, Tom Brady would still be the GOAT just because he leads in basically every major stat ever. Plus, he would still have 5 championships, which I think is more than anybody else. But I think that Patrick Mahomes would be getting closer and closer by the year if he only had 5. But he has 7. So he's still more than double, and I think he'll still be the GOAT.
He's still far out of reach for everybody who is still playing football and who has played football to this day. So he's got that GOAT title secured for a while.
Don't worry, Joe Burrow will creep into that combo. Don't you worry.
Joe Burrow he will never even be considered. He might be a top 30 guy by his retirement.
He might not be the GOAT, but it'll keep Patrick Mahomes from being the GOAT. How about that?
True.
True. That's good enough.
He has saved 1 Super Bowl, I will say. He has saved 1.